Well, welcome everybody. It's Analena here. I'm so excited to be here with you. This is my first quantum alignment show all by myself. I think I have done a couple with my beautiful friend Alexandra together. So today it's just me. And I want to quickly introduce myself, tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'll share a little slideshow with you. And then we're going to dive into the topic, right? From highly sensitive to highly successful. And this is really who I am a lot. Like I have always been a very highly sensitive person, like highly sensitive, a little bit more introvert. I mean, also parts of me extrovert, but this push-pull, I'm a 2-4 line. I'm a manifesting generator with sacred authority. So that's my human design. And yeah, growing up, I was a very anxious child, lots of fears always, and a very, very sensitive person, right? And I really felt like I really can't make it in this world. There's so much masculine drive energy, and to be successful, I have to be stronger, I have to be more confident, I can't be so sensitive, right? So for the longest time, I thought that that's a flaw that I have, there's something that's wrong with me, and I have to hide that. I have to, yeah, step it up and be more confident and be stronger. Until I learned that that's not the way how to do it. I actually discovered how my sensitivity, my empathy, my introvertness is actually my gift. It's supposed to be this way. And of course, human design, especially quantum human design, that Karen brought into the world, which I'm eternally grateful for, has helped me so much to understand myself so much better, love myself so much better, and really turn my story. And this is really my conscious sun gate is the gate 13. So it's all about, letting go of the past and rewriting a new, more empowering story. And that's what I really have been doing quite successfully. And I've really been able to shift my highly sensitive part of me into really a lot of success in my life, where I have come from, working in corporate and doing something I really didn't love. And now I have my own business. I do a lot of human design coaching with also highly sensitive entrepreneurs, because that's all the people that the universe brought into my life. And I'm happier than ever and more successful than ever by just being fully me and allowing myself to be highly sensitive, to be highly empathic, and really use those gifts to also bring more healing and change into the world. I'm also a mom of a 9-year-old daughter. I am originally from Germany. That's where I grew up, in this little town here. This is the Dome in Cologne on my cup. So that's where I studied, and my whole family still lives there. But I live now in Florida. I have been here for over 13 years. I love the weather here. And yeah, I love working from home, doing coaching, and sharing the love of human design with the world. And I'm really happy that you're all here with me today. And I'm just very excited to get started. And of course, I'll try to make sure that we have a little bit of time at the end so that you can ask me some questions. There's also going to be a super amazing gift for you at the end, so stay for that. And yeah, so I'm going to go ahead now and share my screen with you all. So again, this is today's topic, from highly sensitive to highly successful. And this is my human design chart here. Again, like I said, I'm a 2-4 manifesting generator with sacral authority. And because I do have a defined will center, I really live by slowing down a lot because it needs rest. And thanks to Karen's teaching, this is really something that also has shifted my life tremendously, just knowing that the defined will center needs so much more rest. And I'm gonna have to see that okay, perfect. So what we're gonna cover today, so what you can expect here is that I'm gonna show you, like, looking at the quantum human design chart, your birth chart, right? Like, where can you detect some of this highly sensitivity, some traits of empathy, or also this introvertness, right? And so we're gonna go over some specific, like, specifics in your chart, some of the centers, some of the channels, some of the gates, and so that you can kind of see in your own chart where that it is, right? And it's just like in terms of awareness, and for you to really know how you can also detect this. Also, like, if you happen to be certified in human design yourself, if you do readings, it's also really cool. Like, once you know these things, you can just spot this right away, and you really know the people so much more. And then I'll show you, again, sharing from my own experience and what I have been experienced with all the beautiful clients that I had the honor to work with so far, like how you can turn these traits, right, the sensitivity in particular, and also this feeling of that there may be something wrong with you, because that was kind of the story of my life for the longest time, that I thought there's something wrong with me, but how you can turn this into really more confidence and success in your life and your business. Okay. And my question now is like, just from knowing yourself, right? Like, what are you? Who are you? And because when we have these terms, oh, I'm highly sensitive, I'm introvert, I'm empathic. I mean, the reality is that we can be all of it, right? You can maybe just relate to one of those, or you can, like I said, just right now, maybe two of them, or you have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But you could also say like, I'm very introvert, but there's also part of me that's extrovert, right? So in my experience, for example, I'm a 2-4 line in human design, and the 2 line is very introvert energy, right? I need this alone time, hiding out. And then the 4 line is all about networking, and I love to be around people, make connections. That's a more extrovert energy, right? So there's also, even though you may be extrovert, there may be also part of you that's more introvert, right? And empathic is really when we can really feel other people's feelings and understand them so much more. And so again, these are also like, I want to emphasize this is very fluid, right? It's not like you're going to be one or the other, or you're going to be 100% of that or none of that, right? It's a very fluid experience, and you may experience some of all of these traits in different intensities. Okay. And I'm definitely out of them. And this is, again, so you know me a little bit more, this is my human design chart. And the reminder that I want to share with you here, which I know also Karen, she has ingrained it within me, and it was so helpful to understand that we all have the entire chart, right? So it doesn't mean that when you have something undefined in your chart that you don't have it, right? All it means is that we experience the energies differently. So when you have something white in your chart, or what we call undefined or open, that means that you don't have consistent access to this kind of energy. Instead, like, you can take on this energy from others and amplify it and feel it even stronger, and then gain the wisdom from it. And I always like to make the analogy to the chameleon, where you can try out this energy from here and from there, from different people, from different environments and scenarios, and then you gain the wisdom of how you can best utilize this energy for yourself, right? And the important thing is that you don't have consistent access to this, so you may feel it very strong and intense at times, and then it's kind of gone, right? And then when you have something colored in your chart, we call it defined, and this is your soul curriculum. This is the energy that's going to feel really familiar to you, because you literally, like a radar out into the world, you send this out, and it's just there, right, on a consistent basis. So that's the energy is going to be much more familiar to you. But again, we all have all of the charts. So in some way or the other, what we're going to cover today, in a way, applies to all of us. It's just that when you have it defined, it's going to be much more of a theme in your life, and it's going to be much more familiar to you, right? So first, we're going to now look at some markers for the sensitivity, like being highly sensitive, right? And in general, the more undefined centers you have, right? Let's say you're a very open projector, even if you can be a very open generator, right? I actually know personally lots of generators that just have 2 centers defined. So when we have a lot of openness, or being a reflector, right, all centers are going to be undefined. The more sensitive you are to the world around you, right? Because you're going to take on all these different energies, and that can, of course, sometimes be a little bit overwhelming, that you have really like a need to withdraw from that. And that's then already a little bit introvert energy as well. You see how it's all connected. So yeah, look at your chart and look at like how much openness do you have in your chart. And when you have a lot of openness, you're going to be more sensitive. You're going to be more sensitive to all the world, right? And it can also be sensitivity in terms of like all the noise out there, all the the programs and the information out there, social media, that because if we can take all this energy on and amplify it, it can be quite overwhelming, right? So, and in general, I have found that when we are highly sensitive, it's a really good idea to limit what you expose yourself to, right? Because we can really easily get lost in this, like taking on all these other identities and all these other energies and kind of losing ourselves in a little bit. The other thing that I have found, and again, this is mainly from all the readings I have been doing as well, and of course, what I have been learning from my own journey as a quantum human design specialist. It's a beautiful journey, by the way. I highly recommend it if you're contemplating about it. When you have an undefined G center, right? That's the center for your identity and direction, also called the magnetic monopole. So when you have this open, you're just very sensitive, especially like you walk into a room and you can just feel if you're right here or not. If something feels off, you kind of have this sensation like you want to leave because you're just highly sensitive. You can take on other people's identities and amplify them, right? And again, that can feel very, very overwhelming. And especially what I have seen in readings is when people have the G and the will center undefined. And of course, you can now, let's say you're reflected and you have your all the 9 centers undefined, right? But the combination, like adding on the will center openness to the undefined G center as well, I have found that those people, they call themselves really highly sensitive humans, right? And then another thing that's also a really strong marker for being highly sensitive is any channel that you have as a connection between the G center and the throat. So any of this, the 1-8, the 7-31, and the 13-33. So all 3 of these channels, basically what this means when you have this energy connected to the throat directly is that for example, you might be highly sensitive to criticism, right? So when somebody gives you just, let's say it's just some feedback, right? And it's not even criticism, so to say, that you just it hits you at your identity, right? Somebody is saying something to you and it's totally normal that with that configuration in your chart that you're much more highly sensitive, right? And another thing is if, let's say you do not have this open, I mean, let's say you don't have a full channel yourself, but when you are together with your partner, it may be that you have one of the gates, let's say you have gate 1 and your partner has gate 8. When you come together, then in a way, the connection chart that you would have would be defined. And then also in relationships can be an added sensitivity. So very often when I see this in my clients' charts, and then when we look at the children or their partner, that's very often a very strong understanding for them, like why there's so much highly sensitivity in the relationship as well, right? So perfect. Oh, Darren is also from Germany, in California right now. That's so nice. I would love to hear where you guys are all from. That would be super awesome to know. Yeah, so this is the first few markers that really like show us where we can be highly sensitive. And then the next ones are here. Okay, so also, of course, when we have the emotional solar plexus completely open or undefined, we can amplify other people's emotions and these emotional waves, right? And they can feel very strong at times. So we're also just much more sensitive when we have that open or undefined. One of the most highly sensitive gates in the chart is the gate 19, which is in quantum human design. Karen calls it the gate of attunement, and the unbalanced expression of this energy is when we're being like highly overly sensitive, and we can actually shut down. We can become even like kind of clingy. And there can be a lot of like codependency here in relationships, and where you may be kind of compromising your own needs as well because you're being just so sensitive, right? And we are kind of emotionally clingy and all of that. And the mastery really, I mean, it's actually a beautiful energy when we can tap into the higher expression of this energy. is where it's almost like you have the energy of a healer, right? Because you can sense the emotional needs of other people, right? And you can help bring emotional energy into alignment and relationships and everything. So it's a very like a beautiful heart to heart connection energy, actually. But again, like when we're more in the lower expression, when we feel like, oh, there's something wrong with us, and I'm too sensitive, and I'm too clingy, and one of the things that I want to share is that I have this gate in my Mercury, and actually my conscious Mercury. So that's something I'm supposed to talk about, right? To communicate about. So that's also why I realized when I came up with a topic for today's quantum alignment show, I was like, oh, that's actually perfect. I'm actually meant to really talk about this, right? Because you may know that the gate that you have in your Mercury is something that you're here to communicate about, right? Yeah, and then what I've also realized, again, also from my own chart, from my own experience with human design and the clients that I have done readings for, I have also noticed that there's a lot of sensitivity when we have a lot of the spleen gates, which are the fear gates, right? Like the fear of the future repeating itself, the fear of failing others, the fear of never knowing enough, all these things, right? So when we have also these defined, so it's kind of a consistent theme in our life. I've also found that we seem to be more highly sensitive. And just to give you a couple examples, the gate 57 is the gate of instinct in quantum human design, and I found like it's very, especially in connection with the full channel, the 3457, you're highly like auditory. You can hear everything, and I have this sometimes when I walk under like a power line, like I can hear the thing buzzing. Like I'm so sensitive to it, and other people that walk next to me is like, what? There's nothing, right? So I'm just highly sensitive to like tiny little noises and auditory things. So I would also love to know, in case you have that same configuration, how this experience has been for you. But the gate 44, we say like you can smell things. Like again, it's very highly sensitive, right? We can smell lies, for example, because it's the gate of truth and quantum human design. So and I have found like all these fear gates, in a way, they make people more sensitive in a way, and it can also, of course, be with this having a more consistent theme of fears and anxiety a little bit in your life. But again, you will see as we move on, that's also one of your biggest gifts. Yeah, and then again here, the channel connecting the throat to the G. I think I just have that twice, but it's really that important because there are 3 channels. So anytime, especially also when you have a child, right? My daughter, for example, she has the 1/8 channel. She's also Manigen, and you really want to be careful how you say things to them, because sometimes we, as parents, we can have some words slip out not in the most eloquent way, or how you know we should have said it, and I can see it in her face when I say something it's a little bit too critical, how it hits her in her core being and her identity, right? So it's just good for awareness. Then also when you have other people in your life that may have a channel directly connected to the throat from the G center, to choose your words even with more care and more wisely, right? Because we can always say things in a little bit nicer way. So next, we're going to talk about some markers for introversion, right? It's this need for alone time and kind of, you don't want to jump and be in the crowd of the concert. You just want to be home alone just by yourself, take a bath, or sit on the couch, watch a movie, read a book, just be by yourself, right? And one of the first things is the 2 line, right? So if your profile has a 2 somewhere there, that's going to be a very strong theme in your life. But of course, even if your profile does not have the 2 in it, most likely somewhere in your human design chart, all the different gates, every gate is always in the line. So most likely somewhere you're going to have a 2 line somewhere in your human design chart. But again, if you're a 2/4, a 2/5, a 5/2, a 6/2, there are many different configurations that there can be. If you have the 2 line, which can cause it the responder, in the traditional, we call it the hermit. And it's really this need to withdraw and to be alone and to hide out. And right then we create this energy vortex where we can actually then all of a sudden people reach out to us and opportunities come our way, and that really works. I have noticed this a lot. So this introversion is also it's a gift that you have, because when you allow yourself to be in this alone time, and that could be in that alone time you meditate, you have these amazing insights that the divine is dropping onto you, and that's going to create huge shifts in your business, in your life. Again, something I have been experiencing myself so much. Anytime I withdraw and I really surrender into that, much more magic is happening in my life. Then we also have the gate 12 called the channel in quantum human design. That is also a gate where there is a sense of shyness in that energy. So if you have this defined in your chart, that may also like an indicator for a tendency to crave some alone time in your life, right? And then the gate 40, of course, is one of the introvert gates, the gate of restoration. It's again this like need, and it's connected to the will center, right? Because the will center is this like willpower, go energy, where we can just push through things. And especially when we have that defined, it's so important to restore, to take consistent breaks, right? So it's this energy that, so when people have this defined in their chart on a much more consistent basis, you have this need to withdraw, to be by yourself and nourish and recharge yourself, right? And then we have a couple more other channels. One is the channel 4323. That's the one that connects the throat to the ajna. So it's called the channel of innovative thinking. And then also the channel 1333, the channel of collective consciousness. So those two channels as well, if you have them defined in your chart, they can also be an indicator for the need to withdraw and yeah, be in that alone time more, right? And then of course as well, anybody like a manifestor, reflector, projector, if you have the sacral open, just because of that, because you know when you're always around the gens and the money gens, right, with all the sacral energy, you may often feel like either the need to sleep by yourself, which can really highly benefit you as well, or just this need to withdraw from this sacral energy, right, because it can literally be buzzing in your body. So in a way, that's also an indicator a little bit for introvertness, that you just need to get away from all of this, right? So that was now the introvert markers, and now let's look at empathy. So again, and like I said in earlier, right, there it's really fluid. Oftentimes when somebody's highly sensitive, they're also very empathic. It kind of is a lot of overlap, and that's why here as well, it's really like the more undefined centers you have in your chart, more likely you're much more empathic to the people and the world around you. And of course, the classic textbook scenario for empathy, especially in human design, is the open emotional solar plexus, right? Because it basically means that when you have the center undefined or open, you can take on the energy from the defined solar plexus people in your life, or, you know, you can amplify this. So if you have somebody with a really high, low emotional wave in your life, and you can then take this energy on and amplify it. It may feel really strong. It may actually feel really painful, right? So it's the empathy, but of course it's also the sensitivity, because you're much more sensitive to these emotional waves, because again, you take them on and you can amplify them. However, I have had numerous readings with people where, you know, I thought, okay, they have the solar plexus defined, they're not empathic, but the majority of them had the will center and the G center undefined, and they still had the solar plexus defined, and they call them highly empathic, right? They could not say like, no, I'm not empathic because I just have the solar plexus defined. So it doesn't necessarily mean, again, that's just from my own experience with the people I've been working with, that when you have the solar plexus defined, that you're not empathic at all, right? So with that configuration, I have really seen that people call themselves literally highly empathic themselves. And I also feel like any openness, right? We can take other feelings and sensations and um, anything on from the world and from other people in our life, right? And that in itself for me is empathy as well. So again, just be really curious and look at your chart, like what are those of those markers? What do you have, right? And most likely, I mean, there's so many different ways how a chart can be, right? Like if we look from a math perspective, it's probably millions of different combinations that a chart can possibly have. And it's not going to be like, oh, this type of chart is the empathic people, this type of chart is the sensitive people, and these are the introvert people. Like we probably all have some of all of these traits, right? Especially because we have all of the chart, right? And yeah, if you don't have it defined, it may not be as a consistent theme for you. But because we have all these energies, I mean, the 64 gates are the 64 archetypes of our human experience that we can all go through, right? And the challenges that we go through to live out our higher expression. So most likely, and that's the kind of hypothesis I'm making here today, is like we all are to some extent either sensitive, empathic, or introvert in some way, right? So, and of course, I would love to hear, like, how do you see yourself? Do you feel like you're more that, you're all of it? What has your experience been, and what do you have? Some of these markers that I went through, like, what does your chart look like? Where do you have those markers defined in your chart? And then the other thing that I want to tell you all, you are perfect, right? Just the way you are. And I'm quoting here Karen because I love it so much. Like you are a once in a lifetime cosmic event. And it's literally like I had a conversation today with another friend, and it was all about like when you are living your authentic self, and your authentic self may be highly sensitive, and that's okay, or maybe highly empathic, highly introvert. There's a reason for that, right? That's how the world created you, how you were designed by the divine. That's your soul curriculum, and that is perfect, right? And when we humans can live out the real you that you are, to me, is that's when we live in a perfect world, because everybody will have the job that's perfect for them. We will give to each other in the perfect way, support each other, create sustainable resources for all of us. It's going to be a win-win, right? um, and I really feel and see and in all the cells of my body, like the world is shifting right now, right? Because when I was growing up and a few decades ago, and I think we still are there a lot, and we are transitioning slowly out of it and really leaving an area of this push energy, working hard, right? You have to work hard to make money, and now it's really transitioning over into this area of this feminine flow and effortless creation. Of course, we still need the masculine, we still need to go take action, right? But really from this space of where you follow your human design strategy, right? And where you allow yourself to wait for something to respond to wait for an invitation, or as a manifester, to wait for this internal creative drive that comes through you, right? So your sensitivity is actually key. You know, when we're not being sensitive to the signals of our body, where we actually, you know, allowing ourselves to really like, was this an was this an or you know, what's happening in our world, then how can we even follow our, you know, human design strategy? So the more sensitive we are with our body, connected we are, the more we will be able, I really believe that, to live in alignment. And I think I mentioned this earlier, like really the majority of human design readings that the life sent to me, right? They were really for highly sensitive, introvert, empathic people, where it was really like a major theme for them. And the one thing that was really interesting for me is that they all had really also amazing leadership energies and qualities in that chart, right? And very often, because of this highly sensitivity and introvertness, they kind of felt like, or they weren't fully like, or often scared to really step into that power, like kind of playing small. And the human design reading did a lot of magic for them. So I had a lot of people that, especially doing the internal work, what I'm going to talk in a little bit about more as well, they seem to take off. They're really big success. We're able to step into their power, and I was like, wow, that's very interesting, and made me really, really happy to see. And I really believe that your sensitivity, your empathy, your introversion is really the foundation of the new world that we are transcending into, right? This new world where we live in a world where we all have enough, where we are all fully supported. We have enough resources. It's a really sustainable world that we live in. There's no more scarcity. There's abundance for everybody. There's more harmony, beautiful relationships. And I really believe that it's possible, that our sensitivity is such a key component to get us there. And here we're going to talk a little bit about, so now your story, right? Let's look about a little bit the old story and the new story. And again, in really regards with the sensitivity, and allow yourself to go back a little bit also to your childhood, how you felt, right? Did you tell yourself there's something wrong with you? Did you call yourself the black sheep? Are you the one that was always trying to fit in? Did you think or say that your sensitivity is a weakness? Were you trying to avoid sometimes conversations or speaking your truth? Were you more hiding, you know, when you really felt like it was maybe time for you to get out into the world and speak your truth? And did you have a lot of fear of rejection also? Because that's a really, really big fear we so often have, because when we get rejected, like emotions get very high, and it's really like a vicious cycle we can fall in, right? So that's a story that many of us have gone through, right? Many of us have grown up with, and this like, yeah, I'm the black sheep. And the funny thing is, and I'm just going to share this with you, I have 3 sisters, amazing, beautiful sisters. And I always said like, oh, I'm the black sheep. I was the black sheep. But when I had some conversation with my sisters, they all felt the same. They felt like they were the black sheep, right? So I really believe that the majority of us, we all feel like we're the black sheep because we feel like we need to be more like everybody else. But one of the beautiful things of quantum human design is that it teaches us that you're supposed to be different. You're this, like Karen says, a one in a lifetime cosmic event, right? If we are all the same, I think that's the biggest disaster we can ever experience, right? I mean, then we live in like a robot world, and nothing is evolving, nothing is thriving, and we're going to be utterly bored. So our uniqueness, our weirdness, our differences, that's what makes life so juicy and amazing. And the new story here really is that you are perfect, you are a unicorn, there's nobody else like you out there. You're being unapologetically you, and your sensitivity is actually your strength. And when you speak your truth, you also really step into the leader that you are. And I mean, we are all leaders in that sense. And you're going to also tap more into this really deep sense of belonging, because when you get to understand, and this is really on a cellular level, like on a subconscious level, that by you being your unique, weird unicorn self, that's how you belong, right? When we are actually being in the space of trying to fit in and feeling like we're the black sheep, we're trying to be like everybody else because we have this big fear of rejection, like we do not belong, right? I think that's one of the biggest fears of humans, this fear of not belonging, of being abandoned. That, but actually, you come to belong when you understand how you actually are supposed to be different than everybody else. So, yeah, I would also, of course, love to, yeah, for you to just reflect on this, right? And just like see, like, what is the story you're currently holding on to, right? And this is all just awareness, right? There's no judgment, because only when we're really aware of something, we can also shift it. And there's probably also always going to be a part of us that still has some of our old story. And then, like, one layer at a time, we tap more and more into the story of who we really are. And of course, this now gets me also to the gate 13, the narrative and quantum human design. And this is my conscious sun gate, right? This is like my big life purpose gate. And so the unbalanced expression of this gate, and again, we all have this gate in our chart, right? So when you have it defined, it's going to be much more of a theme for you, of course. And the unbalanced expression is when we're staying stuck in the story of who we are not. It's like when we're like, oh, why is life happening to me? And it's just, you know, where we are in this place of complaining and seeing always the glass is half empty as opposed to half full. And we kind of make our external circumstances or other people in our life responsible for, you know, how our life has turned out so far. Now, the high expression of this energy, which my goal for you is to hang out there much more often, is really telling and embodying a very empowering story of who you really are, of what I was just going over, right? That's how you really are. You're the unicorn, you're perfect. You're a leader, you belong. And your sensitivity is your strength, right? And where you really get to this place of seeing like how life is happening for you, right? And how every single day you keep retelling and rewriting a new empowering story of who you really are. And of course, that's not easy, right? Because otherwise we would just all like, oh, just let's turn off the old story, let's turn on the new story. We know that just doesn't happen with a click of a button. And the whole challenge, the lesson that we go through here in this lifetime is really forgiving the past, right? Where we can, I mean, especially forgiving yourself, right? Forgiveness oftentimes is, you know, in the self-development, it's so often about, we need to forgive others because otherwise we hold on to this poison. And of course, that is super, super important. But we also need to forgive ourselves, right? That is so huge. And by doing that, we're also letting go of this false identity that we may have taken on, right? Which is more this victim identity. So my whole purpose here for you is today for you to write the new story of who you are, and especially in connection to being highly sensitive as a person, right? And seeing how this is your gift, how this is happening for you. And of course, I'm also gonna give you some insight of how you can do this. Now, before we get there, I want to kind of point out a little bit of the dilemma, right? And I touched upon this already a little bit. We still live in this paradigm of like being strong and just be confident, and oftentimes it's very fake confidence that people put on, you know, just to feel like that's how they have to be. And we have this masculine go push energy a lot, and oftentimes all this like pretending to be strong and pretending to be confident and pretending you got this, right? What we do very often, that's the way how we cope, right? And it's almost like a suppressing strategy to kind of cover up our true sensitivity, right? Like, because maybe your truth right now may be like, I didn't get it. I just don't feel confident, right? So just want to really point this out, that oftentimes this like fake confidence can actually be your strategy to suppress who you really are, right? And the dilemma with that is that when we suppress how we really feel inside, because that's your truth, the truth is the only thing that will ever bring you forward, right? So when you suppress of how you really feel, of how you really are, then you're suppressing a lot of emotions, right? You may be suppressing your sadness, because with sensitivity, there may be a lot of more emotions coming up, right? Emotions like sadness, or even grief, or the empathy that we feel for others, right? And that may be something that you have been learning and doing all your life, always suppressing and pushing it back, because it's not okay. It's not okay to cry. It's not okay to be sensitive, right? So just be with that for a moment, and like, has this been a theme in your life where you have been pushing it away, and you have been trying to put on a mask of, no, I'm confident, I got this, I'm powerful, right? So that's what happens to so many of us, right? That we are really like almost like hidden under a mask of inauthenticity and this whole conditioning, because we always are like, this is how I should be, this is how I should behave, all those things, right? And of course, in the short term, it may work, right? Because you may get through it. However, in the long term, usually it just becomes really, really painful, because suppressing our emotions is not really sustainable and really asking for burnout. And I'll go into that now in a little bit further, like why suppressing our emotions and really resisting of who we really are and how we really feel is really working against you and not for you, right? So what basically happens is that when we resist our emotions, we are interrupting nature's flow of energy, because emotions are energy in motion. And in order for emotions to flow through our body, like how they are supposed to flow through our body, we have to feel them, right? Now, like I said, most of us, we resist our emotions. And when I say resisting emotion, that's the one that are not so comfortable, right? Like anger, sadness, grief, jealousy, all those things. We like, that's not okay. I shouldn't feel this way. Let me push it away, right? So what this then does, and also like, this is why I put this here, this little graphic over the human design chart. Like, what basically happens, if you can visualize this a little bit, is that when you do not feel an emotion, when you push it away, like let's say the sadness comes and you just like, instead of feeling the emotion, you're gonna have some candy, or you're gonna watch TV, or oftentimes lots of addictions are because we're trying to avoid to feel how we really feel, right? Because really all we're after in life is a feeling. It's not money, it's a feeling, right? We want to feel how we feel when we have a lot of money. It's not the money per se. So when we suppress the feelings, the energy stays stuck in your body. So, and this will also then, I like to call it like, it's like a wall around your heart that we build up. So we often don't allow other people to really love us either, because we are so resistant to ourselves. And when we're resistant to ourselves, we are rejecting ourselves, and we're not loving ourselves. And then we create this big wall around our heart, and all the superpowers and the higher expressions we have in the human design chart. And by suppressing all these emotions, it's going to be so much harder for us to tap into these higher expressions of these energies, right? And then these are some of the symptoms that you may feel when you have a history of consistently suppressing your emotions. It's like life will feel really hard, like a struggle. It's like you feel like you're swimming against the current, right? No matter how hard you try. You feel a lot of triggers, judgments, and you're very reactive, right? And then things just usually get worse or get heated up. When we get into this victim mindset, like I said earlier, where we're kind of in this like, oh, life happens to me and I'm screwed, or where we're very much in the past or in the future. In the past is often the regrets. We hold on to things, we can't let them go, and it keeps consuming our minds and takes us away from living in the present. And that's where the only magic is, right? If we just live in the past or worried about the future constantly, we're not living in the moment, and hence we will not be sensitive to the nudges that life is giving to us in terms of following our strategies, right? It's going to be very difficult. And hence, of course, we probably have a lack of confidence and trust ourselves. We may also not really trust our intuition, our strategy. We may be really disconnected from that, because again, there's so much heavy energy between that's kind of blocking it. You may feel really restless. You may have problems ever getting your weight under control, or lots of weight issues. That is often very, very much linked to a lot of suppressed emotions as well. And you may have recurring patterns in relationships, right? Where you attract the same unfavorable circumstances over and over again. I mean, you may change partners and stuff, but the same things happen over and over again. And that is because when we have these suppressed emotions, let's say it's anger, you have suppressed anger for all your life, for example, and the only thing the anger wants is to be felt. It keeps knocking on your door and saying like, hey, I want to be felt. So what it does, almost like a magnet, you attract other experiences in your life that trigger the anger so that you can finally feel it. We don't have to react and let it out on the other person, right? Again, this is easier said than being done. I know that. And it's definitely a process. But once we allow ourselves to feel the emotion fully, we finish the cycle, just like a record. That's how Alex likes to call it and say it. That's when it can move out of your body and then open up the space, and actually, like here on this graphic, so the energy can actually flow through your body. So it's no longer clogging up the pipe, clogging up everything, right? Another way you can imagine is this, like you are a channel for the divine, just like a water faucet. And when we have all these trapped emotions, the faucet is clogged, right? The pipe is clogged, and the intuition can come through, the divine guidance can come through, these intuitive nudges can come through. So the more we allow ourselves to feel our emotions and release all the ones that we have been piling up for decades, the more you will get into the flow of life. And that really all requires that we fully accept who we are, right? Accepting your sensitivity, accepting your empathy, accepting your need to withdraw, your introversion, your feelings, your emotions, your needs, you, right? We gotta accept all of that. And what's also really important is that acceptance really must happen on a cellular subconscious level, right? Because just logically accepting it with a mind really doesn't take us really far. And why is that? It's because like here on the right, I have this little, you probably have heard this, the tip, like the iceberg analogy, right? Where our conscious mind, and there's research out there, some say most say it's 5%, but I have even seen research where it says it's just 1%. So when we're consciously thinking, right, with our conscious mind, it's just a maximum of 5%. The rest, the big part, which is under the ocean, which we don't really see, but we're not consciously aware of, is our subconscious. It's like the operating system of the computer. That's your beliefs. That's really like what you believe is what you manifest in your life, right? That's freaking 95%. So we can tell us all we want. Yeah, I'm gonna write a new story, but that's not gonna convince your subconscious, because your subconscious is gonna be like, well, yeah, no, but I still believe that I'm a victim. I still believe that life is hard. I still believe that I need to work hard. I mean, that happens on the subconscious, right? And that's why for me, and this literally has worked for me, all the people I have been working with, and it's just a really magical solution that I'm so grateful it came into my life. And I was searching for it all my life, of course, right? And it took me quite some years to actually discover it. So the first one, of course, is this beautiful tool by Karen, Quantum Human Design, right? Because the key component when we want to shift, especially our subconscious beliefs, we need to be aware of what they are to begin with, right? Because I mean, first of all, there are a lot. And if we have no idea even where to start or what to work on, it's kind of like a lost race in a way, right? So quantum human design is so beautiful because, I mean, also because of the beautiful language that Karen has put in it, because yeah, our words, they really carry frequency. And contribute also to what we manifest, but it gives you the conscious awareness of who you really are, right? And I don't know how it was for you in case you have had a human design reading before. If you have not, this is totally going to change your life, let me tell you, because you're going to sink into this like deep relaxation in your body, like, oh, this is me and it's okay to be me, right? It's really this I always like to call human design as the ticket to be you. And you can just like all the things that you have known and tried to figure out all this time, like all of a sudden it's going to be right in front of you in your human design chart, and somebody's going to explain this all to you, and you're going to be like, oh my God. I mean, I had people crying human design readings out of relief, right? Out of relief that it was totally okay how they are as a person. And it shows us really the 64 archetypes of our human experience. So it's very comprehensive, right? Because I've taken all these courses before, and one focuses on relationship, one focuses on health, one focuses on that. And I always found like, well, there needs to be something that's much more comprehensive. And that's what I see and have felt with human design. It just covers it all, right? It's all where we can experience the lower and high expression going through this life as a human. And then the second part is what I call the deconditioning, or the deep inner work. I also like to call it the sexy work, because it really is sexy. And that's really the tool that helps you, along with the awareness from quantum human design, to really forgive your past and rewrite and also believe and live the story of you, who you really are, through accepting and releasing these trapped emotions we carry in our bodies, and really decoding and rewriting that belief system on a subconscious level, right? Because that's really where the magic is, like on a subconscious level. When we can reprogram the computer, you know, then all of a sudden things will happen in your life with so much more effortlessness and ease, because you're not trying with your thinking so hard to figure things out and to make things happen. And here is something that it's a beautiful graphic. And here's kind of the solution that my beautiful friend Alexandra and I have, birthed into this world, which is called the Gateway. And this is a program that we have created, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what this is in more detail. But basically what it does, on like a high level overview, it helps you take you from your inauthentic you, or the inauthentic self that you may have been for quite a long time, where you have been putting on all these masks, trying to be different, trying to prove yourself and all of that, and you have been suppressing and resisting your emotions for the longest time just to fit in, right? And to please others. Pleasing others is a very common thing that we go through when we do that. And it takes you to actually releasing these emotions. And I like to illustrate this with this tree here. You can kind of imagine, like, we can change our thoughts, right? And how many thoughts do we have a day? Like 80,000 or something, like a lot. So if you just try to change our thoughts, I mean, for me, that never worked. Just this, like, change your mindset, change your thoughts, and just think positively. Not saying that thinking positively is a bad thing, it's amazing, but just that alone was not enough. And I understood, okay, I need to shift my beliefs. And yeah, we can do a lot of exercises to shift our beliefs on a conscious level. However, where the real juice is on the emotional level. That's where that's the roots of the tree. And you can imagine, so the roots of the tree are the emotions. When a tree has healthy roots, right, then very effortlessly the whole body of the tree, the trunk is going to look beautiful, and the branches, and then the leaves, they're going to be nice and green, right? But if we're the positive thinking, to me, it's like I'm trying to paint the dead leaves green, and then when it rains, it washes off, right? So that's not very sustainable. So when we do it from the bottom up, when we go to the root cause of the negative thoughts, and every time you release a stuck negative emotion from your body, you help shift your beliefs, you help shift lots of thoughts that are attached to those trapped emotions. And that's what really helps people to tap into this creation that is so much more effortless, right? And so it's all about releasing all of that, releasing the inauthentic you, releasing the person that you are not really are, right? And then tapping into the authentic you, the authentic you that is really confident in yourself, right? But not because you are faking it, but because you really feel it. You just, yeah, this is me, and I love myself, I trust myself, and you're going to have success with so much more ease. You're going to be magnetizing money with so much more ease when you're really coming from this place of being the real you, right? And basically, so what is the gateway? A little bit more details for you. It's basically a 9-month deconditioning journey, just like a baby. It's to birth the authentic you, right? The real you. We also call it like a total life makeover, because it really touches upon all areas in your life. And it's a project that I have created in collaboration with my dear friend Alexandra. Some of you may know her because we have done some of these shows here before together. And really what we do in this program is we go through deconditioning, and we have guided release sessions for every single center and all the 64 gates of the human design chart. So it will not only help you to get to know your gates and your whole chart so much more, and Karen's book about the gates is one of the study guides that goes along with the program. But you're also going to be guided through to release the lower expressions, right, in a very safe and supportive way in this program. And you can go to my website. You got to put the www in front at analenafuchs.com/programs. And until the 15th of June, we will also have a coupon code for all you lovely people. That is 300 off QAS. So you're going to get $300 off the program. We also have a monthly payment plan, so it's actually quite affordable. And the $300 off will then evenly be spread over the 9 monthly payments. And in order for you to be like, well, I'm not sure, and I really want to get you a taste of the work that we do, right? And so we recently did a 5-day workshop, and we decided, because it was so awesome and transforming and life-changing, and it's particular for highly sensitive people, because people pleasers, right, we're usually the highly sensitive ones. So it's called From People Pleaser to Money Magnet. It's a 5-day workshop we did, so there's going to be 1 session per day. You're going to get access to that for free. Cindy, if you can maybe share the link with everybody. And in that workshop, we cover some basic human design. We cover a lot about people pleasing, also especially people pleasing, some more gates in the human design chart that have those lower expressions that show us the people pleasing tendencies we can fall into, how it's related to our ability to make money or not in life, right? Especially with more ease versus more effort. And we also have a guided deconditioning session, so you can kind of get a taste of what does it, how is it, because I don't have time for that, unfortunately, right now. We only have an hour, and I want to have a lot of time for Q&A as well. So we have one guided release session that in itself is gold. Like, it's totally life-changing. And what we help you release some of it is the fear of rejection, right? Because that is something that's so huge for us. So you can click on that link, and you're gonna get access to that for free. And that way you also have some time to figure it out, and that's why we made the coupon code also available until the 15th of June. If you happen to be a reflector, if you need more time to make a decision, just message me privately, and we'll probably figure that then out as well. Okay. And then some other options, just so you know how you can connect with me. I love to give readings. I really feel like they're so freaking life-changing. I enjoy them so much. And if you feel really called to have a reading with me, you can also find that on my website. I do have one-on-one coaching opportunities. Of course, here we're going to go a little bit more deeper. You're probably going to transform a little bit faster, because we're going to do also the deconditioning work one-on-one, right? Happy to connect on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook, of course. This is right now here on Facebook. I have been doing lots more on Clubhouse recently, and right now, every day on Fridays at 6:15 Miami Eastern Time, I am going live, and I'm talking all about human design. You can bring your human design chart. You can just upload your human design chart as your profile picture, and it has been amazing. It's a Spanish club, Quantum Physical 2. But I speak English. I only know a little bit of Spanish right now. I'm actually studying it right now. So my goal is actually to be doing more in Spanish in the future. But if you're in the room, like, we talk both English and Spanish, because one of my friends is there with me and he translates if somebody doesn't understand English. And I also just created a Clubhouse club myself that I'm looking to grow, which is called Human Design for All. So if you feel called to join that, please do that. And I'm probably soon going to start also sharing more goodness in there as well about human design and also the deconditioning work. So this was it from my end. I'm really happy that I made it on time. Dankeschön, bitteschön, my German friends. Beautiful. Yeah, so happy to have this all here. Yes, I also offer one-on-one sessions. I mean, I would recommend you book a reading for a one-on-one session. You can also if you had a reading already and you just want to have a regular session, you can do that as well. I do have on my when you go to my, so when you click on readings, maybe I should post that comment somewhere. I have a Calendly site. Maybe I can drop this here. I have a 3-session package that you can book, which is basically 3 sessions. I'm just going to post my Calendly here, so you guys can do that as well. Yeah, but you know, it's really about you, what you need, what you feel called to work on, and so definitely, totally, yes. So, are there any questions for me, Cindy?
Gloria Terry asks, I'm a 5/1 self-projected projector. May I ask, when you say those with open centers are highly sensitive, what exactly does that mean? Does it include pain?
Yeah, so I mean, the emotional intensity can be quite painful. So when you have an open solar plexus, emotional solar plexus, and you take on other people's emotional waves and you can amplify them, that can be quite painful. I mean, I've been experiencing myself, but I don't think we can amplify others physical pain, right? Is that what you mean? But like emotional pain, emotional is it can be very painful, right? Because it feels very, very, very uncomfortable. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. How do you turn that pain off? So that for me has been the deconditioning work. So I do invite you to join this the workshop that we have been doing, that you can join for free, because we're doing a deconditioning session there. And because it's really, we have to feel some of these uncomfortable emotions, and that's going to be a little bit painful in the beginning, right? I'm not gonna lie. I mean, because if we keep doing it the way we have been doing it in the past and always push everything away that is uncomfortable, right? Then it's almost like we bury it inside, but it's still alive, and it's going to come out even stronger later on, right? So, and this is what I love personally about the Gateway. We're doing this with support, accountability. There are also live Q&As once a week. It's not going to be a self-study course where you never get to talk to people. We actually have a lot of human touch in the program. There's a very loving community. We would love to also have a man in there. Right now it's all women, but it's amazing. And we do this like it's like building a muscle. Like that's when you go to the gym and you want to get a biceps. It's not something that happens because you work out once, right? Building more emotional resiliency and really releasing these blocked energies from your body is a process that requires consistency and especially a very safe environment. And that's what we're really providing in the Gateway, where we help you learn that habit, right? Because habit change, as we know, it's oftentimes we do something for a week and then we stop doing it and go back to how we used to be doing things, right? So we're really helping you change the way you live life, so that you get into a place where you experience less pain, right? Where you experience less vulnerability to what's happening on the outside world, where you feel more peace from within yourself. And when you look at all the gates in the quantum human design, the more you do this work, the more you get to hang out in the higher expression, and the more resilient Karen has the resiliency keys, right? That's really what I have been experiencing from doing this work myself and the people I'm working with, is that you become just so much more resilient, and you start to take better care of yourself. All of a sudden you just drop the sugar just because you feel like it, because you love yourself so much more. It all comes from naturally from within yourself. It's very, very magical.
Actually, at the top of the hour, people had some really nice questions, and have that free offer again.
Yeah, so this is already, it's available. It's pre-recorded. You can start it now, right? You can get off your sign up for it and you can start watching. We did it live a couple of weeks ago, and we decided, because it was so amazing, and to give you some really nice gift here as well, and to really show you what this work is about, right? Because I also want you to totally follow your human design strategy if you feel called to join us in the Gateway. So check out the 5-day From People Pleaser to Money Magnet. We're really sharing with you the work that we do, Alex and I, both of us, right? So just click on the link that Cindy just sent there, and you can do that. I don't know how I found you, but I'm glad I did. Yeah, manifesting generator, right? Exactly. And especially as a manager, right? Like being highly sensitive, and like it was for me, yeah, it has totally changed everything, knowing human design. And I did the deconditioning work before human design, and just those both together, and that helped me to embody my human design so much faster. It came into my life about a year ago. So I'm not like 10 years into my journey, but I feel like it has come very, very easy to me.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
My pleasure.